Hello. Hello. Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, hello. Hello. Yes, I'm using the same shirt. I've been busy all day in the garden, and it's a bit too late now to bother changing. So, hello. How you doing, boys? Yeah. We'll just have another stream, and I'm going to talk about the news and whatnot. But how you doing, everybody? And for those of you who are just coming along now and you haven't seen the stream yesterday, or explain the situation, what we're going to do going forward. We recommend that you use. How do I do that then? Oh, great. Can I change the settings while I'm actually live? No, I can't. Sound quality's off. Hello. 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 Is that right? I'm using a different streaming thing than I normally do. There is a hissing like static. Is that correct? Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's have a listen. I think it's using the audio. I think it's using the. Let's have a look. I think it's using. Oh, there we go. Okay. Is this the one? Is this the one? Is that better? Let's see. I'm a professional, yeah? I'm using a different streaming software because... Is this the one? No, it's not. That's still bad. Look at this. This is live. This is live. Not better, no, I know. Here we go. What is going on? Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? What is going on? I'm a professional, boys. Is that better? That's better. Fantastic. I have no idea what I did. I've clicked a number of things and that shouldn't have worked, but it appears to have worked. So there we go. Hello there. Thank you for sticking with me during this. Yeah, so to everybody who didn't see the stream yesterday, and a number of you did, I explained the situation and what we're going to do going forward, and we're sticking to that plan. But I'm going to start regular live streaming again on this channel, covering news and events, you know, just waffling on. So if there's anything you'd like me to discuss, within reason, in the chat, I'm happy to do that. Obviously Warhammer related, but you know, I mean, I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy. I'm happy to have a crack at most things. But yeah, I was just going to look at the Oh. Oh. I think I know what's happened. This is silly. I should just use the normal OBS. So, that's audio input capture. Now, is that coming through as the crappy version? Or is that correct? Is it back now? I can't hear you still. Let's see if it switches around. The stream's a little bit delayed on my end, so I'm waiting for it to come through. Is it back now? I can't hear you still. Let's see if it switches around. Okay, I think we're okay there. I don't know what's going on there, you know, to be honest. So, let's do it a different way. There we go. Let me just have a wiggle around on this. I was trying to be clever and have different scenes available, you know. Oh, dear God. There we go. There we go. Should I do it like that? I'll do it like that, and then do it like that. And then we'll have the video capture up above. This is the kind of professionalism you've come to expect, I'm sure. And there we go. Dual audio and browsing. It was a little bit delayed on that. This is the kind of professionalism you've come to expect, I'm sure. And there we go. Dual audio and browsing. It was a little bit delayed on that. Huh. Huh. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's all these things. Mute, mute, mute. Okay. Slight echo. It's a slight echo. Okay. So we'll just see. Slight echo. It's a slight echo. So we'll just see. That seems to be fine now, boys. Thank you for your patience. I'm using a different version of OBS because over on Kick and Rumble, the Warhammer Radio live stream is running. So if that's what you're after, you can go over there. Seems to be fine now, boys. Oh, shut up, you. Thank you for your patience. Shut up. That's up and running as we speak over there. And thank you to everybody who has joined. King Mac, Leo Rick, Bow4 Ghost, Vividly, Varsity. I can't be bothered to scroll up. But thank you everybody who's been watching the streams over there on Kick and on Rumble. And that's where they'll be for the time being until we get some things sorted out on this end. But, oh God. But, yeah, I got myself distracted now. Again, to everybody who's inquiring, yeah, the content that you used to get on this channel is now available on, well, it's still available on the podcast and over on Kick and over on Rumble. Just search for A Bored Prince and you will find me. Someone was messaging repeatedly yesterday saying that there was someone was using my name or whatever. No, I think that's me. I think that's me. I think it was a playlist you were talking about, which isn't anything to do with me. It's just someone has named their playlist A Border Prince 40k. And obviously you can see that there's supposed to be hundreds of other videos on there, but because I've taken all the videos down, there's only like 4 videos on there, so don't worry about it. And I think on Rumble, it's the way it works with like the setting up the channel. So you have an account, and then you have your channel. But I'm just using my account, so I've got a channel with everything on, but that's all the stuff that's just on my account. So I'm streaming to my account. I don't really understand these things. So yeah. Sounds good at the moment. Yeah. Hopefully it does say, yeah. I had all these audio outputs open for some reason. So I don't know what that was all about, but I normally just use this version of OBS to record video segments and stuff. So I've never really used it for live streaming as such. So I just had to fiddle about with it because I've never actually bothered to use it for this. But I've got my other version of OBS running at the moment, the stream. It looks like it's playing, what is it playing? Badab War. Probably the first part of Badab War. So, yeah, anyway, let's have a look at what the old GW Sunday preview is. And, you know, I won't bore you by going through all this. But I was just going to say, these look pretty nice. And if you don't know, some of these, this guy especially, and I think the main servitor there, they are from the Blackstone Fortress supplement. And it looks like you got 2 of him, and they've made some other ones. They don't look as disturbing as I think servitors should be. I like the fact in 40k you've got servitors, because it adds a whole other, like that's the horror, you know. And as you read these books and as you get used to the books and so on, you kind of get used to the fact that there's just servitors around and floating skulls, and it kind of inures you to the horror of this society and civilization. You know, I mean, you know, they got to do what they got to do. But, like, on the whole, it's a very disturbing civilization. The fact that you've got these automatons just walking about, these, like, cadavers that have just had servitors, they've just had robotics added to them, you know, and they're just trotting around following protocols that have been given to them by another bunch of guys who worship technology. It's a lovely thing. It really adds to the whole thing. But I think I get inured to the horror of it. It's just, you know, you'll just see mentioned in the texts of novels and things, a servitor walked by or whatever, or a servitor was cleaning the floors, and it's just like, Jesus, you know, what a terrible existence. Can you imagine? You get mind wiped. Craziness, pure craziness. And I think on Rumble, it's behind. The stream's behind. But they look pretty nice, man. The Tyranids look pretty nice. They look a bit, they've got a bit more of individuality, a bit more uniqueness than the standard ones. I mean, yeah. People say Kill Team's really good. I spoke to some guys at a thing recently, and they were saying they really like Kill Team. It's a really fun thing to play. They were playing like a free player game. I haven't got the time to get into that though. Like I've said before many times, I'm a Middle Earth guy. It looks like they're launching all the heresy stuff early now. The stuff that they were on about before Saturnine comes out. So this is just like standard stuff to add to your armies. Seems strange they would do that this way around. You'd think they'd wait until release day for these, so like the hype was real, But they seem to be pushing these two box sets, these 3 box sets out now, which is strange. It's a strange way around of doing it. Beastmen are getting more stuff. I love Beastmen. Again, the horror of these things. You're walking along in the wood and you just hear you might hear like a ruffling in the undergrowth. You're walking around the forest. You're essentially a German peasant, in 1500, and you're walking around. You're just walking home. You've got a stave on your shoulder. You've got like some kind of, I don't even know what to call it. Not a pick, but like a shovel, something to break up the earth. You've been tilling your ground. Your plot. You're walking home. You live in the Empire. You're walking home. You hear a ruffling, and you hear some snuffling, and you think, is that an animal? What is that? Is it a deer? And then you hear, and then this abomination comes running out the woods and takes you back to its man here, and it's going to do terrible things to you. Terrible things. The older novels went into a bit more detail about these kind of things, but it's going to do terrible things to you. You won't die quick. It'll be a long process, and it will involve other things. One of the most disturbing and funny, I did laugh. I was like, oh God, was in the Now, which novel was it in? That's the question. It was a Josh Reynolds novel, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was the Archaon novel, which is very good, or it was the Gottrix and Felix one he did, the Red Road, the Skull Road. And he introduced a Chaos character who was interesting, very interesting. But it was either in one of those novels, and it must have been the Gottrix and Felix one. No, it might have been the Archaon one. Anyway, they run into a pack of Slaaneshi Norse guys with a very bedraggled and abused group of Empire soldiers in chains that they'd taken as slaves. And these Slaaneshi Norsemen, Conan types, they'd been treating their slaves quite roughly. It wasn't good. But it was also like... The last kill team with cultists and priests was very bad. I don't know. People... I know that they mentioned, I was reading before, that they've got some kind of special mechanic with them. Something to do with blood or something. I don't know. Because these are corn guys, apparently. Yeah, that seemed like a bit of a gimmick thing. Were they trying to sort of like... because there's that Trench Crusade game that's come out that's kind of fairly popular, isn't it? Was this an attempt to sort of siphon off some energy for that? Maybe, potentially, but yeah, I'm not keen on these goremongers. Come on, man, you keep what you kill. Goremongers. I'm not too keen on them. I'm not too keen on any of the Khorne cultists that they've done recently. I don't think they really capture how I envisaged the Khorne look and feel. The priests look okay, but a bit boring, a little bit safe, a little bit boring. But yeah, everything else looks all right. It all looks all right. I mean, these guys look nice. These are quite nice, but I'm not much impressed by anything, to be honest, at the second. And all this Beastman stuff is all old, you know. I'm presuming they're metal. But they look really good. I really like Beastmen as a faction. I really like them. The Riddick reference. Yes, of course. Metal. Yeah. They're very good. They're very good. I always wanted a Beastman army when I played Fantasy. We've got this being released by Robbie McNiven. Now, I've never read any of the Carcharodon stuff. I've only read the lore stuff, you know, when they're involved in the Badab War and stuff like that. So I've never read the novels. People say they're quite good. So he's doing another one. It looks like a brand new one. Yeah. Yeah, the novel will be out pre-order and regular hardback, ebook, MP3. Yeah. I've never read any Denny Flowers stuff. Denny's a strange name. I've never heard that name before. All Orcs now, the Pain Boys. I mean, maybe. Orc novels, they sound okay as an idea. I know people say, like, I want more Xenos novels. But that's a regular thing you hear and see and stuff like that. But it's like, whenever I read them, they never really get... Like, I read that Gotrix, that Gaskell one. You know, where they keep the... they get the Orc... They capture the Orc. And it wasn't very good. It was like it misunderstood what the Orc is. The Orc is a machine, right? It's a virus created by the old ones. See how I envisage it? The old ones created all these different races in order to act as soldiers in their war against the Necrons. You know, very Prometheus-like, but way before then. So it's possible that influenced that rather than the other way around. But you know, there's all that. Well, Star Trek already covered this kind of thing, this idea, this panspermia thing, is it? Whatever, you know what I mean? Where a superior civilization creates these other civilizations based on its own self and lets them develop in these unique environments, and this is what you get, you know. I think that's a common idea, it's a common trope in science fiction. It's very prominent in, you know, Star Trek and so on. But the Orc is the final stage of that, where in desperation, they created the Eldar and stuff like that, you know. And the Eldar gods were probably originally old ones, but due to their connection to the warp, they probably became, you know, like what's happening with the Imperial stuff, like what's happening with, you know, Sanguinius and all that sort of stuff. And the Eldar being an entirely psychic race, their influence on the warp created this entity that reflected their belief in the old ones as gods. So it isn't actually... So Aisha, or whatever, probably was an old one, but it's become transmogrified into this, like what's happening with the Tau, right? Other races, not the Tau themselves, or possibly the Tau themselves, it all contributes. The other races' beliefs in the greater good has manifested in the warp as a god of the greater good that loves the Tau, but the Tau hate it because it represents everything that they stand against, which I think is a nice, clever idea. I think that's quite clever and fun. But that's, I think, what happened there. But the Orcs, I believe, were like the final stage of the old ones, in desperation, creating a form of life that basically is a virus. You know, they're a fungal virus spread across the universe that will continue to multiply and build up and ever war upon the enemies of the Brain Boys. And they themselves are psychics, so they've manifested as Gork and Mork, but they were probably the old ones who created the Orcs. And they were probably, the Eldar probably knew this Gork and Mork as well, and probably worshipped them under a different name, so like Cain and Ashurian. You get me? Something like that. So, the Orc is a creature that is... The best time I've seen it represented was in the Blood Quest novels, Blood Quest comic book, where the librarian interrogates an Orc, and it's just war. It's just flame, war, killing, fighting, you know. So when I read some of these novels, the only one that's come close to it for me was the small audio book that they put out from Guy Haley. That was very good, and it's got the orc on the front like this, and it's very good. It's got extracts where the orc's talking in Orky, and it's going like, you know, Wazdaka orc rah chop chop rah, you know, like that was good because it conveyed how the orcs think, how they speak, and I think if you hear people speak, you can get a vibe for how their energy, their feel, their vibe, how they act, what they place emphasis on. It's interesting stuff. So when I read these other novels, like the Gaskell one, I feel like it misses a lot of like what it would be like, the psychology of an orc. It doesn't convey it properly, and it's difficult too. But it definitely isn't there. So I don't know what this Grotznik one will be like. I know people talk about that other one. There's something about like an orc riding a bike and smashing into a Titan's head or something like this. But I'll never read any of his books again because of what he did to the Alfarius novel, and that was terrible. You know, oh, I'm Alfarius, I'm going to kill some custodians to prove a point. You know, I don't like that. I thought it was lame. So, yeah. Oh! Stu Rats, a little something for your recent troubles. Thank you, my dude. I really, really appreciate that. That's very generous of you, man. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah. The age of man is over. The age of the orc has come. Yes, yes. Is it Aisha or is it Aisha? Aisha? I can't remember. But, yeah. Well, she's enslaved by Nagel. Old Nagley. He took her as a... He daily injects her with all of his new diseases and so on, because she can heal herself, so every day she's healed, and he injects her again. I mean, it's a very twisted relationship, but you know, I've seen worse, so you know, it could happen. But the mythology of the 40k universe is extremely interesting. But yeah. So, what else we got? Dominion Genesis by Johnny D. Beer. I've never heard of this guy. I've never heard of someone with a second name Beer, so I'm assuming it's not his real name. Gryphon 4 was once one of the greatest Forge worlds, but the inexorable advance of Hive Fleet Leviathan has left a lifeless husk populated by a handful of... Now, this is interesting because I've just gone through this Mechanicum stuff on a video, and that's on Rumble, I think. I don't know. Explorator Talin Shaddix refuses to leave the planet to ruin in Dominion Genesis by Dunning, and upon hearing of the mysterious relic that has the power to restore the world to its peak potential, she sets off on an exact... Yeah, I don't know. It seems alright, I guess. Rob Young, Lord Solar. So this is the new character they've introduced, and I haven't really seen much of him, and I thought it was a bit much. He's riding a metal horse. It's a bit much. It's hardly on the level of Macarius, you know. Which was written by Bill King as well, and is some of the most tip-top novels. But I didn't like how he wrote it. The emphasis on the guard character rather than on... I mean, I can see why he did it, like, from a writing point of view. But, like, I would much prefer, like, an in-depth sort of, you know, Macarius narrating his own life and sort of explaining why he's done what he's done. You know, I mean, if I read a novel... It's like a lot of these historical novels. I remember I tried to read one of these Roman history novels, fictionalized Roman history novels, and it's like from the perspective of some grunts, and it's like, I'd rather hear what Caesar says himself rather than what this guy thinks Caesar's saying. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like the... I can understand why people do it, because it gives you more flexibility in terms of the writing and stuff, and you can explore other areas if you're not dealing with the main guy, because you know what the main guy did, so you have certain points you've got to hit. But I don't know. I'm guessing this will be the same thing. Oh no, okay. The Imperial forces of Fortuna Minor are all in Minor Fortune. Little Fortune. And those left stranded on the planet now find themselves under the cruel lash of the speed freaks overrunning its surface in Leonatus, Lord Solar by Rob Young. Now, Rob Young, I think I've read some of his stuff and he's alright, man. In the skies above, a lone saviour pod makes its descent to the planet containing none other than the legendary Arcadian Leonatus, Lord Solar of the Segmentum Solar. With scant resources, no horse, and, and the odds stacked against him, Leonatus nevertheless intends to win against the orcs and free the stranded Imperial. Well, immediately that's not selling it to me. Immediately I'm thinking to myself, would Solar Macarius find himself getting in an escape pod because his ship has been blown up? Because he was so silly as to allow his ship to be blown up by a bunch of orcs. It wouldn't happen, would it? And, why has he escaped as well? Shouldn't he go down with the ship? They usually do. So, I don't know. And this has been reprinted again, the first founding. I've read this. It's interesting. It adds some nice stuff to the lore of the original, the Loyalist chapters. I'd like to see a Chaos one. That would be nice. I was going to do something with that as well, but I'm going to have to change what I was thinking of doing with that. And then they got some stuff with the Warhammer Plus stuff. I need to watch this Kill Lupercal. It's supposed to be pretty good. It looks okay. It looks better than the other stuff they put out. So I'll give that a look. The voice acting seemed better. But yeah. I'd rather follow a character without a novel. Yeah. You might say it's a toxic relationship. Yes. You might say that. That's good. I like that. They're always good to see, though, aren't they? It's like, toxic relationships when you know someone. Not someone you actually care about, but like someone you know and they're in like a really messed up thing and you're like, wow, it's very Jeremy Kyle. I like observing drama from a distance. I don't like it myself in my life. You know what I mean? But it keeps telling me the stream's current bitrate is too low, but you guys seem to think it's okay. So, Yeah, Horsey Guy isn't going to die, so there's no jeopardy, is there? This is the problem. It was the problem with the Fabius Bile series, even though I would say that is probably one of the best 40k series ever made. Because you don't know what's going on. Because he has to survive, because he's got a model. And he's probably one of the only really named 40k characters around, especially Chaos guys, of any real prominence. Well, he's probably the most, after Abaddon and Khan, it's only really Fabius Bile. I mean, I know Typhus is there, but Typhus is a bit boring. There's no other name. I mean, there is some, they've created some recently, but none of them have really got punch. Fabius Bile, though, is, and he's been around forever, for as long as Abaddon as a character. And that novel series really expanded him. But unfortunately, it ends on a bit of a sour note because he has to survive, and he carries on fighting for the forces of chaos. So no matter the very interesting story arc that Josh Reynolds developed for him, it ends a bit of a damp squib kind of way. His other novel, Apocalypse, is much better because it's all unnamed characters, and it delves into a lot of really interesting spiritual aspects of 40k and deep lore. And, basically the fact of the matter is that the Imperial Church, one of its founding members, was a word bearer. So, that's very fascinating stuff. The Anchorites, which if you know a thing or two about a thing or two, is a very interesting phrase to use for them, if you know any sort of Christian theology and Christian history. So it's very interesting. But anyway, not a fan of Ahriman. No, I'm not really a big fan of the Ahriman series. I'm not too... It's the writing style. It all just feels a bit meh. And plus I got told this by someone who's read it, like last week. They were telling me, a YouTuber, they were telling me they were really annoyed because it basically, I mean, no spoilers. Well, yeah, spoilers. But the new one they brought out, it's like, he literally goes back in time to change everything that happened in the other novels. And it's like, come on, man. That's lame, So, yeah. Yeah, the Fabulous Bile, The Fabulous Bile. The Fabulous Bile series is amazing. I will be putting up the book reviews and stuff like this of things like that back up on the second channel very soon. It's just a practical thing. I've got to sit down and do it. I've got other stuff going on, boys, but I will get to it soon. And the main priority for me is to get the big lore videos done first, really, which I had a good crack at. I spent like an hour writing some stuff this afternoon. But you know, it's just one of them things, man. Because Fabius Bile exists as a character outside of the novels, then you know, it's not gonna. Not gonna be a massive surprise at the end because he has to survive. There's no jeopardy. But the novels themselves are great. They delve into so many interesting facets of 40k lore, and like through Fabius being such a long-lived and intelligent character, you know. And he's a nutter, but he has an interesting perspective on reality. It's very Nietzschean, you know, very much like that. Like, yeah, the whole thing about he's breeding a new race of men, the new men, all that stuff. Very fascinating stuff. It's fun. It's fun. It's taking some. I like that when 40k does that correctly. Like, it's taking concepts from our world, but without being anachronistic and so on. It incorporates them well into the 40k setting. And but you can do a little bit of anachronism, like with Belisarius Call, because they go back to before the heresy. These characters, they existed before the Great Crusade or during the Great Crusade. They're able to, they know things that other characters don't, so they have a different perspective on things, which is nice. But yeah, again, the great work, the Belisarius Call novel. I really like that. I hated the Belisarius Call character. I felt he was just like, you know, a god character that they'd introduced that had no depth to him or anything like that. But then I read that Guy Haley novel, and I tell you, I'm converted. You know, I was converted by that novel. The great work. I love Belisarius Call. He's great. He's a fun character. He's interesting. But anyway. That's all I got to say on this. That's all I got to say on this. I'll be doing some gaming streams on this channel. I've got to do some streaming basically on this channel, just to up the numbers. Well, to up the numbers from more than 0 because there's no content on here. But the backup channel will be getting some uploads of books and stuff. I've just got to do some work on them, removing any artworks and so on. But I'll be uploading them soon because I know some people enjoyed them. And that'll all go on the second channel going forward, and then on this channel, expect within the next 2 weeks or so, start getting your fix of lore content. It's going to be coming back. But again, thank you to everybody with the kind messages. I see some familiar names in here as well. Thank you ever so much. And yeah, if you're an insomniac and you want your Warhammer 40k radio stream back up, then do head over to Kick and Rumble, where it is live right now. And the podcast feed is open as well, fully open. So that's there as well. But I'm going to go now, boys. And again, thank you, Stu Rat. I really appreciate the donation, man. I need all the help I can get. It's a tough month. But yeah, we're back on it. We'll be back to it soon. So yeah, look forward to all that. Anything in the chat? Anything you want to mention in the chat, boys? Anything you want me to talk about before I go? Alexander did have a wife, and he did have mortgages. He was the he was the king of the entire world. You get me? You think he didn't lend money? He owed money to everybody. And he had 2 wives. He had Roxana and another one. He had multiple wives, in fact. Don't believe the movie. The movie's not right, okay? And it overemphasises certain aspects of his personal life. Yeah, you know, he only had 1 heir, but I should imagine he had a lot of illegitimate, shall we say, heirs, because he had a lot of concubines and stuff like this. Like, Alexander was not what that movie portrays. It's not a very good portrayal of him. If you're just going on the movie thing, you should go and read his life. You know, start off with Plutarch. It's probably the easiest and most. It's probably the easiest one to get a handle on. Because I forget who he compares him to. Does he compare him to Augustus? I think he compares him to Augustus. Read Parallel Lives, The Lives of the Ancient Greeks and Romans by Plutarch. It's an amazing. You can get an audio book of it, pretty good. And I'll bang that on now and again. But the book, if you're more of a reader, you don't like audio books, just get the book. You get like you can get like the standard one and read about Alexander, and he compares him to Augustus. So it doesn't go into the battles. It talks about like their personal lives and about like his family life and his origins and so on, and Philip and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely like get your Plutarch on the go. That's probably the best way to get into there. And then I think Pliny did something on him, or maybe I'm just making that up in my head. I forget. But yeah, or was it Tacitus? Tacitus, sorry. Tacitus. I think he did something on that. I can't remember. But yeah, Alexander had multiple wives. You were joking? You weren't joking. You've displayed your own lack of knowledge there, son. Sort it out. You playing the Space Marine remake when it comes out? Probably not. I've got the original. It didn't look that different to me. I mean, I'm sure there's a graphical upgrade, but like, probably not. No, I've got number 2 here. I'm kind of done to death on that as well. I didn't want to play the missions and stuff. I find that a bit boring. I got that out of my system with Helldivers. So I've just been playing the deathmatch, but there's like the fact that they only released there's only like 4 maps it's boring, man. Now I can't do it. I've been playing Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Is it 2 or 1? I forget. But I've been playing that. That's my go-to shooty game now, and yeah, I think that's better. That's more fun. There's more interesting things going on. You know, you can use spaceships and stuff. Hard C on the Tacitus. Is it Tacitus? Is it Tacitus? I don't speak Latin. I don't know. They never taught me Latin. Shockingly, my rough secondary school, Latin wasn't on the agenda. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, I'll be back soon. Thank you all ever so much, and thank you for the continued support. And yeah, like I say, everything's available still. Podcast best place to go. Kick and Rumble for the live stream, which is up right now. I will be back again soon, and I'll be live streaming probably at some point this week again. And that'll probably just be a chill gaming stream. But if you've got any questions and so on, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I will. See you around. Bye bye, everybody.